they've gone from a club that had a lineup that 1 through 9 would just scare most opposing pitchers to one that you can navigate through if you can get around Austin Riley and get around Marcell Ozuna.
Tough weekend for them on the injury front. Grant McAuley joining us right now. You can hear him on 92 The Game. He hosts from the Diamond. You know what, Grant? You do so many things around the Braves. Give us a good plug. I always go on your show and love doing it, but tell everyone where they can find your coverage.
Yeah, a little bit of everywhere. I do some writing for the Marietta Daily Journal, but I host my show on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. I've been lucky enough to have you guys come on and join me as well. I appreciate that as always. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And I pop up a few other places, and I don't know. We might spend all of our time trying to figure out where I'm going to be next, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. Let's get to the crappy news first, and we'll do some Braves trade talk as well, and the Merrifield signing, the whole deal. But on the negative side, Max Fried down with what looks like a tricky nerve situation, an injury that popped up around the All-Star break. And then Ozzie Albies looks like he's going to be out for 8 weeks. Here's the tweet from you, which I'll read actually, and then get your response. One of the roughest days of the season. It's been anything but hospitable on the injury front for the Braves, of course, alluding to Strider and Acuna, guys like that going out for the year. Fried lands on the IL, followed by Albies, who could be the latest player facing a season-ending injury given the timing of his fractured wrist. But do you think, I'll start here, Albies does return at some point in September and then can help this team in the playoff run?
I know that's certainly his goal, and he has been a guy that has recovered quickly, healed quickly, but since he may not be Wolverine, I just feel like you have to look at the math. You got 10 weeks left in the regular season anyway, and they're saying 8 weeks is what they're estimating. So clearly the math could work out for him to be back, but at what strength will he be back? There won't be a minor league rehab assignment, I don't believe, at that point of any particular length because the minor league season is going to be over. So I'm just kind of curious how he responds to it. You can't rule it out. He already came back from a broken toe in April and did so inside of the 10 days he was on the injured list. So it's just one of those things where Ozzie just seems to be a magnet for these kind of things that have happened to him a couple of times in 2022. Again, here this year, 2 different fractures. And this one, to me, seems to be the most serious of the ones that he has suffered. And while I like hearing 8 weeks, I guess if you're looking for the silver lining of it, that he could come back, you just kind of have to wonder how quickly is he going to heal and at what strength will he be when he does return.
There will be a minor league season after that time because they pushed the minor league season. MLB now has to pay the minor leaguers more, so they're like, well, you have to play more. So they do go longer, but it doesn't matter because big leaguers don't take rehab assignments anymore. The Phillies, four of their guys never did any rehab, so who knows on that front. But can you look up? Do you know, is the sky falling in Atlanta because of what's happening to this fan base? And has this with Max Fried and Strider before this, and Ozzie Albies and Acuna, has it become a situation where Braves fans are kind of giving up? Not the players. I know the players won't because they still have a ridiculously good team to do what they've been doing after they lost an MVP and Cy Young candidate. But have fans kind of given up on definitely catching the Phillies, but like winning a World Series this year?
I would say that there's definitely a vocal minority that has probably taken the sky is falling approach and possibly taken it a bit too far. But you can't write off the fact that the injuries that the Braves have suffered this year could change the expectations of even the most optimistic fan. You lose your opening day starter and prohibitive Cy Young favorite Spencer Strider after 2 starts. Within 2 months, you lose the reigning National League MVP. Michael Harris has spent significant time on the injured list as well. Sean Murphy missed a couple of months. Austin Riley missed a couple of weeks. And then you have the Fried and Albies doubleheader of injuries over the weekend. It's just the latest in a long line of injuries. And even the guys that they've brought in to help out have ended up getting hurt and not being effective. And it's hard to really do anything to counteract those kinds of losses because nobody's got the minor league system or the depth to deal with it. And then you can't really make a trade until the deadline. And at this point, you've got about 10 teams I counted in the National League wildcard race that could make a case to be either a seller or a buyer. So I don't really know if that's going to, yield what the Braves need to turn it around. But from a optimism standpoint, it's understandably taken a lot of hits this year with these injuries. But the Braves are a club that, as we know, in 2021, couldn't get over the 500 mark until early August. They went on to win the World Series. That doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but it should just let you know, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, baseball seasons, they aren't played on paper and they don't write themselves in that way. So you just kind of have to go out there, play the games and see if you get hot at the right time. And I don't think this is a club that's interested in entertaining the idea of selling, even if there is, again, a vocal minority on the internet that would love to see them trade away 3, 4, 5 guys and do a mini rebuild in the midst of a window of contention, which sounds ridiculous saying it out loud and probably ridiculous thinking about it.
So we won't even talk about a mini rebuild. We're going to talk about Alex Anthopoulos. Alex Anthopoulos makes moves. And until this weekend, with losing 2 key pieces, he was going to be a guy that was going to make big moves, and you just knew that based on his history with the Blue Jays and the Braves, and there have been successful moves. Does he draw that back a little bit because of what just happened?
I kind of look at it as, and there's no good time for an injury, but the fact that this did happen, the Fried and Albies news in consecutive, or in one day, but happening about a week to 10 days before the trade deadline, it gives him time to evaluate. If this happens in the first week of August and say he has already gone out and made the moves that he can make at the trade deadline, then you're kind of hung out to dry. You've got nowhere to go to try to make an impactful move at this point, but I would not rule that out. And the way that Alex has always talked about this throughout his time is if there is a chance to add and to make this club better, they're going to. They're just not going to willingly take a step back and send that message to that clubhouse, and they're not going to send it to the fan base that, hey, we're okay with losing this year. And it doesn't mean that they're choosing, just going all in on one year and sacrificing the future. There's a fine line to walk, and he'll be the first person to mention that and admit that as well. But I just don't see them, again, sending that kind of messaging with the talent that they've had. Even with the injuries, you've still got a club that, while it hasn't played great in the last couple of months, it's been a 500 club really since April. They're still 10 games over 500. They're still in the top seed of the wild card. And as we've seen the last few years, not just the Braves, you get into the wild card, you can make a run to the World Series. Stranger things have happened, and I don't think that the Braves are ready to write that off, and certainly Alex Anthopoulos is not.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, because this team is a team that can win with that no matter who it is. They still have the pitching and everything else. Now, my question to you, talk about Whit Merrifield. They got Nacho coming up as well, but what do you see him doing? Is he going to be a role player? Does he, I like the pickup just in the fact that he's been there before, but where do you see him playing? Do you see him playing a lot?
Yeah, I think that he has the opportunity to, and it may just kind of depend on the production, obviously. And then as you look at the Braves lineup, they have got a host of problems with production. The regression from the historic season they had last year to this year is beyond what I think anybody would have thought is reasonable. They've gone from a club that had a lineup that 1 through 9 would just scare most opposing pitchers to one that you can navigate through. If you can get around Austin Riley and get around Marcell Ozuna, nobody else has really been able to establish themselves. So there's opportunity, to make a long story short, for a guy like Whit Merrifield, whether that be at second base, whether he gets mixed into that outfield a little bit. That could certainly be possible. And I look at Nacho Alvarez as a guy that has great on-base skills, and that's exactly the kind of player that the Braves need right now. And it's not asking a 21-year-old to save your season, make up for the losses of Acuna, Albies, and others, but it is an opportunity to see if he can come up and help you out while you figure out what else you need before the trade deadline. They already brought back Eddie Rosario as well, who was not having a great time up in Washington, but has come up with a couple of key hits for the Braves in his return. So, again, I think there is opportunity there, but I don't think that they've settled it. I don't think that they've put all the pieces of the puzzle in place, and a lot of it is going to rest on the shoulders of Alex Anthopoulos over this next week to figure out how he can make this club substantially better. But Merrifield, certainly worth trying, and for him, I think it's an opportunity to jump on with a club that could be playing into October, and I'm sure he doesn't mind that.
Grant, I'll double down on the trade conversation. What's on your wish list? Are there specific player names in the outfield, say, that you'd like to see added to the mix here? Do you think they would explore the shortstop position as well, or there's really not much available that would help the upgrade with the bat for Arcia anyway?
I've definitely wondered about shortstop, and I think that most people's discussion has been, hey, if Arcia is struggling so much and Nacho Alvarez is a shortstop, why not try him there if he can give you a little bit more offensively? And a lot of that focus on Arcia has come from the fact that, hey, the rest of the lineup's not hitting either, so they're not covering up for the fact that he's having a tough time over the course of the first half here as well. So as far as shortstops, I don't really see anybody out there that seems like an immediate fit, an immediate upgrade. I don't know that Orlando Arcia was ever looked at as the starter no matter what for the Braves. They signed him to a very good contract to, I feel like, come in and play a role for this club, and he exceeded those expectations last year. But they could certainly revisit that, and Nacho Alvarez could be the first in the line of thought of at least trying something different. But Arcia has been good with the glove. I know it hasn't been as good lately, but either way, I do think he offers a lot there. second base is a place that Nacho Alvarez hasn't really played, so bringing in Merrifield makes a lot of sense. But losing Fried, and I felt like this before this happened, if the Braves had a chance to add a starter that could make them significantly better, even though their pitching staff has been the reason why they've been able to maintain their spot in those standings right now, as far as the wild card is concerned, why not make yourself better there? Go out and see if you can try to find an impact arm. But who's going to be out there? I mean, I wish I had answers about that, but I still feel like all those wild card teams, mostly in the National League and a couple in the American League, that just kind of have to figure it out. This could very well be a seller's market from the way that I see it. But I could be wrong about that. But if I had to pick one player that, looking at the outfield, might be able to come in and make a difference and could be available, I think Randy Arozarena from the Tampa Bay Rays, if they decide to sell, could be a player that fits in on that short-term basis for the Braves, who certainly have their outfield locked in for 2025 and beyond.
Oh, I would love to see Randy Arozarena play for the Atlanta Braves. I think that would be an awesome fit. That's a great call. And I think realistic, too. He's a year-to-year guy, right? He hasn't been signed up long-term to a Tampa Bay Rays extension. So I do think he's going to be somewhat heavily shopped if the Rays, have a rough week and a half. So I like that name. Grant, awesome to have you. Appreciate the time. We'll post some of these clips for our fans watching, so you can follow Grant on Twitter and get a hold of everything else that he's got going on show-wise. Grant, thanks for the time.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Everyone watching on YouTube right now, time to give a little love to AG1. They've been a longtime sponsor for us over the summer months. So drinkag1.com/foul is the code. I'll let you know what that gets you in just a moment. But Kratz, have you been traveling with your travel packets?
Oh, 100%. I'm almost out of my travel packets. I think I have 3 more, but I think my next travel is coming at the end of this week, so it's only like 3 or 4 days, so I think I'll be good. But what I love about it, my kids, for some reason, when they're taking like multivitamins or the things that like help, just like supplementing their health, I'm like, can you guys please just take it? And they're like, can I just have an AG1? I'm like, yeah. Some reason, like, it's sitting in the fridge, at top of the fridge, and they just scoop it into their shaker. I don't know if they feel like they're a boss with it, but anytime I can get my kids to use it, I'm like, perfect.
There you go. AG1 contains ingredients that support sustained energy, so you can be the best version of yourself each and every day. And also, like Kratz mentioned, if you've been messing around with a million different multivitamins and all that, and it's just annoying and confusing, you don't have to do that anymore. It's a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization. That's big for me, stress management, immune support. And since 2010, they've led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. Let's go over the code. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. You can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and those travel packs. You get 5 of them with your first purchase if you use the website drinkag1.com/foul. Again, that's drinkag1.com/foul. FT fam. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.